this lesson, we will continue our discussion based on multiplication of integers. While performing multiplication in mathematics, we find it very easy to multiply any number with the number 1. Yes, even the larger numbers can be multiplied easily with the number 1. You can consider some larger numbers and multiply them with the number 1. I'm sure you'll get the product very easily. Why is it so? It's not very difficult to answer. We know that any number multiplied by the number 1 gives us the same number. Look at these examples. We can see that when any number is multiplied by 1, the product is the same number. This means the identity of a number remains unchanged on multiplying it with the number 1. With this understanding, let's also check the identity of integers when they are multiplied with 1. Yes, we will see if the identity of the integers remains unchanged or not. Let's consider the multiplication of this integer with 1. So, can you find the product of -2 and 1? Pause the video and find out the answer. The product of -2 and 1 is -2. In this example, we can see that the identity of the integer -2 did not change on multiplying it with 1. Here, if we would have multiplied 2 with the number 1, then we would get the product as 2. From this, we can understand that the identity of integers remains unchanged on multiplying it with the number 1. Therefore, -2 remains -2 on multiplying it with 1. So is the case with the integer 2 in the above example. Can you think of any other number which does not alter the identity of integers or whole numbers on performing multiplication? No, there isn't any such number. Since the number 1 does not change the identity of any number or an integer on performing multiplication, it is the multiplicative identity for whole numbers as well as integers. Understand this well. Therefore, if we multiply any integer a with 1, then we get the following. That's the concept of multiplicative identity, which we can use while performing multiplication of integers. Now consider this question. Do you think -1 is also a multiplicative identity? Let's take an example. To multiply this integer with -1, let's recall the following point from our earlier discussion based on multiplication of integers. As given in this example, both the integers have the same sign. Hence, their product will be positive. So, the answer is 3. It clearly indicates that on multiplying an integer with -1, we do not get the same number. Therefore, -1 is not the multiplicative identity of integers. However, you will observe an interesting fact about multiplication with -1. The product of any integer and -1 is the opposite of that integer. Let us understand this with the help of the above example. We know that the opposite of -3 is 3. When we multiplied -3 with -1, we got the answer as the opposite of -3, that's 3. In our earlier discussions, we have seen that these corresponding opposite integers are called additive inverses of each other. Therefore, we get the additive inverse of an integer when we multiply it with -1. So next time, when you have to perform the multiplication of integers, keep a note of these points.